you very much, and good morning, everyone. His Excellency Dr. Mohammed A. Fanali, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Honorable Charles Ramson Jr., Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport, PS of the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, Ms. Melissa Tucker, Vice Chairman of the National Sports Commission, Ms. Christy Campbell, President of the Guyana Squash Association, Mr. David Finance, members of the National Sports Commission, members of the squash fraternity, members of the media. A very good morning to you all. I am extremely happy to be a part of this small but significant ceremony which underlines the push that the government has been making over the past 4 years. Now, it would be remiss of me if I don't inform some of you that this doubles court that will be opened by His Excellency is the only public one of its kind in the entire Caribbean. It underlines the vision, it underlines the commitment, it underlines the determination that government has to make sure that Guyana becomes the mecca of sport, if not in the Caribbean alone, in Latin America and further afield. This did not come about in a vacuum. Actually, it called for meticulous planning and also meticulous implementation. And we have now, before you, one of a kind in the Caribbean. I would like to call on Ms. Ashley Khalil, a national champion, member of the squash fraternity, to come forward and give brief remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ninval. A warm welcome to His Excellency, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport, Honorable Charles Ramson Jr., all distinguished guests, fellow board members of the GSA, my fellow squash players, and all special invitees. Today marks a milestone for squash in Guyana. Today, we celebrate the grand opening of new squash courts. What's most special about these courts is that squash players for the first time in the Caribbean region will benefit from the use of a doubles facility. That's right, a space where you can have a greater chance of being hit with a rubber ball and understanding that it means extra love on court. Today, I stand with pride as a member of the Guyana Squash Association and as a squash athlete, knowing that the future of Guyana squash is taking on new positive appearance. It indicates that our opportunity abounds for the future of the sport in Guyana. For this milestone accomplishment, we have none other than His Excellency, President Mohammed Irfan Ali, Honorable Minister Ramson, and their diligent team to thank. In this moment, I hold within me great appreciation for this facility and give thanks to each of you on behalf of the Guyana Squash Association and the wider squash fraternity. As we embrace the spirit of the sport, our squash players are already anticipating the hosting of exciting local and international competitions where we will make unforgettable memories filled with friendly banter, team support, and most importantly, remembering to have fun. Because if you can't laugh while chasing a little rubber ball, what's the point? So with much ado, let's get ready to play some squash as we take the golden arrowhead to new heights.
Thank you very much, Ashley. And I know we're here today to open the double squash court, but you know, we don't want the other sporting fraternities to be jealous, because even in this enclosure, this compound, in a few months, we'll be opening another facility for table tennis and for badminton. And you know, things like these are a microcosm of government's comprehensive and holistic approach towards sports development, whereby the benefit is for all. As a matter of fact, this compound will become a true racket facility because of the fact that we have tennis being played across the side, squash being played here, and badminton and table tennis being played on the other side. So the developmental process is continuous, and before the end of the year, we'll be having the opening of many other sport facilities. So sport is in good hands. I would want to call on the president of the Guyana Squash Association, good friend of mine, Mr. David Fernandes, to come and give brief remarks.
Thanks, Steve.
David, you're very colorful today.
All protocols observed. It's absolutely a pleasure for me to be here today, to have an opportunity to say thank you to the Ministry, Culture, Youth and Sport and the Sports Commission for believing and investing in sport in Guyana, especially for investing in squash in such a huge way. What an honor it is to have the President of Guyana, President Ali, here to open this amazing facility. I also want to thank the GOA and the squash family. It's partly due to the way our fraternity works together to move squash forward in Guyana to be recognized as a core sport. And that has gone a long way in showing the ministry that we will make the most of these facilities. We've proven that talent is here in Guyana, and to give that talent the opportunity by enhancing sport infrastructure is a vital component to allowing them to fulfill their potential. Interestingly, this year marks 60 years of squash in Guyana. And over those decades, we've been fortunate to have some amazing drivers, advocates, and players of our sport. Players of our sport. We will actually be marking this milestone in October with a few special events and the introduction of a Squash Hall of Fame. I'm just one of the many deep lovers of sport, and even more so for youths. I've been privileged to hold the baton as president of the GSA for some time now, and fortunate to be holding it in this transformational time of our country's history, when never before have we had this kind of resource now at our disposal. As Minister Ashley says, feel free to clap whenever I say so. We're grateful that such a significant amount has been stewarded into sport. It's a clear indication of government's commitment to fostering athletic talent, bringing communities together and creating opportunities for athletes to shine on the international and national stage. The investments made will undoubtedly strengthen our sports culture, brighten peoples together in a shared national pride, creating stars from many walks of life who will represent Guyana globally. I myself as a leader holding the baton for sport for this moment, and I see myself, sorry, as a leader holding the baton of sport for this moment. And I'm confident that those who come after me will find their own unique ways of continuing to provide the opportunities for our youth. I'm hopeful that the legacy that we all are part of and the security of the support that we receive will allow us to continue to grow and succeed in every level, as a community, as a fraternity, as a nursery, as an academy, as a nurturing ground for elite players, and as a symbol of pride for all of us. You know, as I always say, the one thing that brings a nation together and the easiest and fastest way to do it is through sport, because we don't look at religion, race, sex, gender. We do it, we cheer the best that we have to offer whenever they do well. Thank you again for the support, the trust, and the belief in squash. And to the government, the ministry, and the National Sports Commission, all the players and their families, friends of squash, and to the Guyana Squash Association for creating real opportunities for our youths and pushing us to a unique position among our neighbors. As mentioned before, that we are the only court and only government-funded court system in the Caribbean with these double facilities. And this facility here is the best in the world. So this court system was bought out of Germany, and this was a true partnership, because I remember when the minister had said that we become a core sport, and we met with him here. He gave us an opportunity to really dream and dream big, and we did dream and together, because we worked very closely with the ministry personnel, and we were able to develop this facility here. As I said, it's the only facility of this kind in the region. We must recognize the significance of this privilege. With more than words, we must demonstrate its value in our actions. Let's keep challenging ourselves to do and be more for our past, present, and future athletes. Also, just like to say that this facility actually positions us to be able to host international events. We've had one last year. We didn't have the seating in, but it was everyone who came to Guyana felt very proud of what we were able to achieve, thanks to the government and the ministry. And I think that with the new accommodation being afforded us coming in on a very short horizon, that we could see ourselves maybe even hosting a Junior Pan American Squash Championships here in 2026. Thank you.
And having future Olympians. I have been at the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport for some time, and I can't remember a time when the National Sports Commission and the sporting associations and federations would have had such a close relationship. Don't take my word for it. Just go and ask around. We have been having continuous meetings with all of the associations to listen and to guide and to respond. That also did not happen in a vacuum, because, as I said, I would have been at the ministry for some time, and there was a period whereby the ministry, or the department as it was regulated to, had been working in silos. And in 2020, when Charles Ramson was named Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport, we saw a different approach. And we were molded from being a motley crew into being a family that works together and looks out for each other. And I think that's a great achievement for our ministry, and it has brought a lot of camaraderie, and it has assisted in our output and production being higher and being better, and allowing us to be better servants of the people. I would want to invite the Honorable Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport, Charles Ramson, to the mic.
Thank you very much, Steve. Your Excellency, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana and Commander-in-Chief, Mohamed Irfan Ali, Steve from National Sports Commission, Christy, Bisundayal, Delon Davison, Philip, Melissa Tucker, Frankie and Melissa, and the family here of the lovers of sport generally, and my very good partner and friend, David. I remember when we came in here in 2020, we had meetings that would last about 8 hours running, because I was meeting with all of the sports associations, and we started to iron out those plans. And amongst the plans, one of the associations that I was meeting with was David and his team. Owen was president back then too. And you had a number of persons who I still see part of the family in squash today. And amongst one of the things that we discussed about how we can advance the development of talent in squash, which I already knew was punching above its weight, just in not necessarily the numbers and the number of athletes who were involved in the sport, but in terms of its record. And at the time, the focus was really on, well, how do we support as many people as possible? Because, you know, in a democracy, that's very important. You want to bring benefit to as many people as possible. But at the same time too, when we look at what is the purpose of sport, other than bringing the country together, which I think is of extreme importance, it's also how do we get our nation, our flag, our anthem, who we are as a people at the world stage. That's something that was very important as we navigated this process of building this partnership. So when David spoke to me about building this doubles squash court, and he spoke to me about, you know, the hall, we'll have to build the hall, and we went to get the estimate, and then he said, we'll do the internal subsequently. What he didn't say to me was that the internals were more expensive than the externals. So he hoodwinked me in the whole operation. So we spent $27 million on this building, and on the internal fittings from the company themselves directly, we spent $41 million. We didn't have all the money. We didn't have all the money to do it. But I went to speak to President Ali about, as I do for all of the plans, all of the big plans, I speak to the President about it. And I just want to say this, and I'm going to continue to say this because there are going to be a lot of openings of international facilities this year. We're opening 5 stadiums this year. 5 international stadiums this year. And I will challenge anywhere else in the world other than maybe Los Angeles for the Olympics. Anywhere else in the world that any government in any 5-year period would be able to complete 5 stadiums anywhere. But I just want to say this too, that President Ali has made my job as a minister, as his minister, so much more easy and being able to achieve what has never been achieved, it is because of the support that I get from him. And I want you to put your hands together. Every single time that I come to the president with a plan, obviously we would have made the plan. We would have done all the research and put together the proposals, etc. And it's never no. If it is something that can't be achieved now, the next question is how. Because sometimes you don't have everything right there at this moment. You're building your house, you gotta buy a fridge, you gotta buy your beds and stuff, but there are other things that you have to buy at some point, and you will get it at some point. You have to build for that, you have to plan for it. The only thing that you have to do is to figure out how. Put your mind towards it. And that's one of the things that I learned both from him and also by being in this job, is that you know that you have big dreams. And you heard David say that this is the best in the world. So we haven't nickel and dime on this or shortchanged what we are delivering to the squash fraternity and the people of the country. But we just have to figure out how. So, and it's because of both his love for sport, but also the importance that sport plays in the country, and where we as a government and he as leader of the government wants the association. You may not be large in numbers, but you are very powerful and influential because you are working like a family. So I introduced my daughter to sport, to squash. Tried my best, she gave up. So I'll try on the second one. She's turned 6 just the other day, so that makes her into the entry family. So please try your best with her too, so that she doesn't leave. But it shows the importance of the collaboration. We couldn't do this alone. We could have only achieved this by working with the family at the Squash Association. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank all of the folks at the ministry, and not just the leadership, the ministry and the National Sports Commission. I want to point out, to give a distinction on the difference in the leadership at the National Sports Commission. Prior to this National Sports Commission being appointed, they had 3 meetings in 5 years. How are you going to get work done? How are you going to achieve anything if you have 3 meetings in 5 years? This National Sports Commission that we appointed in late 2020, or maybe early 2021, this has been the most active and effective National Sports Commission this country has ever seen. Our directors function as though they are employees of the National Sports Commission. Some of them were here and they don't get paid. Some of them were here until 11 o'clock last night while I was successfully defending the budget for the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, which concluded at 1:30 this morning. But some of them were here until 11 o'clock last night, just making sure that everything is in place for this opening, because, for me, detail is important. Stickler for details. So, and I also want to take the opportunity to acknowledge Steve, Frankie, Christy, and all the members of the National Sports Commission. Because Steve is right, we built a family, and Andrew, who is integrally involved in every single opening or public event that we have. Yes, we've built a family, but the family is about results. And I want to just touch on results before I conclude. Because we're building facilities, government builds facilities, and that's great. You know, you've put them up. In 2022, after having the public consultation about the National Sports Academy, which was the first time that this has ever been introduced into the country, where David would have mentioned, we outlined the 12 core sports, which now 13 this year. This is something I discussed with President Ali, I think in 2021, right at State House. And in 2023, Guyana achieved at international and regional tournaments, 2023, 167 medals, which was the highest ever we have ever accomplished in our history. $167 medals. So we set ourselves a target, which we put in our budget book. You know, just above that, which I thought maybe, you know, might have been pushing it a little bit at the time when we set it out. We submitted to the Ministry of Finance. Last year, 2024, Guyana achieved 534 medals. Almost 300% increase. And it shows the importance of the collaboration, the partnership, the investment, the sports academy, the elite training program that we introduced, the nurseries, the tournaments, all of that shows how important that has been. Let's look at the traveling, the international representations. In 2023, we had, again, the highest ever we've had. Guyana participated in 51 international and regional tournaments. In 2024, it was 102. 102. Which means, well, there are only 52 weeks a year. Which means that we're doing this almost twice a week. Let's look at what we brought to the country. Because, of course, this is in consonance with our tourism sector and sports tourism, advancing President Ali's vision of making Guyana the premier destination for world-class events. In 2023, Guyana had 15 international, we held 15 international sporting events. In 2024, it was 29. 29, bringing millions and millions of dollars into our economy. Squash was one of them. That means we were hosting one in this country almost every single other week. That's the record. So it's extremely important that when we make this investment, that we get the returns. And the returns is for Guyana, Guyanese, and for you. So we want to take the opportunity to say, you've done extremely well. What you do with this, in terms of advancing your talent, we want you to see that you can take Guyana to the highest possible level, and we believe that you have that capability. Thank you very much, and I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. In recognizing some of the hard-working people at the Ministry and at the National Sports Commission, of course, I too Assistant Director of Sport, but one of our unsung heroes is Mr. Sherwin Moore, who's our engineer. He's a guy mostly in the background, but most of these facilities that you see standing erect, Sherwin has played an extremely important role in making sure that. So Sherwin, thank you very much. I would now like to call on Mr. Andrew Tyndall to give us a steel pan solo. Thank you very much, Andrew Tyndall. We've come to the point where we've all been waiting for. I ask you to stand as we welcome His Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, to the microphone.
Thank you, please, everyone. Thank you very much. It's a great injustice to listen to such a rusty voice after Tyndall. But I'm sorry. That is how life is. First of all, allow me to acknowledge the work of Minister Charles, the ministry itself, the PS and all the technical staff, Steve, the association, all the executive members, the players, the athletes, the parents, family members, and all those who support this incredible sport, squash. Let me acknowledge all of you, because today is a day for your collective celebration and your collective ownership. Squash is one of those sports, national sport, that has brought tremendous glory to Guyana. And I think we should applaud all the past athletes. I can remember for a very long period, outside of regional cricket where we were dominating, the only other sport that topped the headlines in terms of Guyana's performance was squash, and for a very long period. For a matter of fact, I can also recall that the first time I read of individual ranking outside of boxing internationally was squash athletes ranking high up internationally, and we should applaud all of these athletes. For a matter of fact, there are many occasions when squash athletes would have been the national sportsmen and women in Guyana, and we must not forget that. These are important accomplishments for any nation. National pride is built on many pillars, but one of the most integrating pillars through which national pride is built is on sports and culture. These are two pillars that support national pride and create an ownership for national pride that is second to none. And national pride is the most important ingredient for national unity. And national pride and national unity are the fixed aspect of the equation in building national prosperity. And that is why I look at culture and sports as important components in the equation of national prosperity. Because components of national pride and unity are critical aspects of national prosperity. National prosperity is not only and must not only be defined by national income or economic and financial parameters. National prosperity deals with the life of a nation and how in national prosperity each citizen contributes to the life of that nation. It has to do with health and wellness. It has to do with the integration of families. It has to do with our responsibility towards each other. It has to do with our responsibilities to the environment. It has to do with our behavior, and values, and culture that we adopt and support. Those aspects of national life resides in the consciousness of every citizen, resides in the consciousness of all of us. Squash is a sport that requires great determination, commitment. It requires a high degree of fitness. And it requires a different type of passion to be on a squash court, a very confined area. It requires, I think and I believe, a different type of passion in which the athletes must be able to self-motivate and self-energize. And if you can't self-motivate and self-energize, you will find it very difficult on a squash court. So, generally, and I want to speak to the association now because you have better facilities here, and these are facilities we want to take all across the country. You must now take that additional step. And I'm happy the families are here. And one of the things about squash, hockey, boxing to some extent, yes. Boxing is the family support behind the players. Every time you turn up to a hockey tournament or a squash tournament, you see real family support. And that is not accidental or that is not structured. That is because of our inability nationally to generate the national support that should go behind these athletes. And that responsibility fell primarily on the families, supporters, and friends. That must change. When you wear the colors of Guyana, regardless of what discipline you're wearing that color in, national pride and national energy must be behind every athlete that puts on a national color. And we have to achieve this through integration. We cannot achieve this through isolation. Frankly speaking, many people are of the mistaken view that squash is an elite sport, or squash is a sport for the rich and the powerful and so on. That is a very mistaken view. Squash is one of those sports that you can get maximum return for medium-sized investment and minimal investment. The greater investment in squash is in the athlete's health, in the athlete's fitness. That is where the greatest investment is. And it is a responsibility of the association, supported by government policy, to ensure that this sport is integrated nationally. And that is by taking it to every single region. But more importantly, how do we integrate squash with issues of mental health and wellness? One may ask about the economic value of this investment. This investment has tremendous economic value in reducing public health expenditure now and in the future. If you can develop an area where young people can come, network, communicate, talk to each other, where families can integrate, where counselors can meet in a soft environment, and help with issues of mental health, wellness. If we have persons who use their sport discipline to eat better, to exercise, and to live healthy lifestyle, the economic derivative from that, in terms of public health expenditure, in terms of reducing issues of diabetes and all of these things, also brings weighty benefit for the country itself. So it's not only about the prizes and winning the prizes and the medals and the positioning, but it is how this is integrated into what we want to achieve, a healthier, stronger society that takes care of mental health and all of these things. So sports is the cornerstone of our national development strategy. It is an important aspect of the socio-economic transformation that we are pursuing as a country. Now, you would have heard me use this term in Parliament defining the road ahead for Guyana. And I spoke about the sports economy. And the sports economy is going to be an important part of the economic diversification and transformation of Guyana. How we're going to utilize sports and culture to create jobs, to boost tourism, to live healthier lives. How are we going to incentivize sport? How are we going to develop and build a business model around sports? Because if someone tells you that you don't need to build a business model around this facility here I will tell you they're very wrong. So I would like the association to take that next step and to define how we can build a business model around the facility itself for the upkeep as a revenue earner. And I'm very happy, David, that you're already thinking about this in how you can host international events. How we position this. And let me tell you something. The global tourism market is expected to grow at a compounded rate of almost 18% between 2024 and 2030. A compounded rate of 18%, the global sports market. And look at the countries that are now diversifying into sports economy, the sports economy. You look at the UAE, you look at Qatar, you look at Saudi Arabia. Look at the investment they are making now and the way in which they are reorganizing sports and culture, much of which they have to import to develop their own sports economy. Now let's take this a step forward. You would not believe, but sports tourism is the fastest growing segment of tourism globally. So you have ecotourism, beach goers, the sun, sand, and sea. But in the tourism market itself, the fastest growing component within the market is tourism, is sports tourism. Let's take that a step further. According to a recent study by the UN, sport tourism support the accomplishment of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And when you look at the global scale, today the size of the global market is about $618 billion. That market is expected to grow to $2 trillion by 2032. That's just about 8 years from now. Well, less than 8 years, 7 years from now. 2 trillion. When I was performing the duties as tourism minister, I once said in the Caribbean, what you come for is not necessarily what you stay for. And this is where the opportunity is for sports like squash. Because squash has a niche market, it is very easy to reach that market. So when people come for CPL, if they are aware now that coming for CPL also allows them to enjoy world-class facility for squash in Guyana, that is an added incentive. It's an added value for what they're coming for. Similarly, when we build a badminton facility, a basketball facility, and that is why we are pursuing the best in class in all of these areas. I had discussions with the Raptors to come to help us develop basketball from the community level, because we have to start developing these things from the community level. The only way our athletes will grow, and the only way Guyana can be positioned in this global marketplace, is if we have the infrastructure and the exposure. The two go hand in hand. You can have the best infrastructure, but if you don't host tournaments, if you don't have the exposure as a country, if cameras are not clicking on your facilities in your country, if cameras are not rolling on your players in your country, you're doing them a disservice. The more we can have the exposure of our athletes, and you can't have exposure if you don't have facilities. Yesterday, for example, I was in Region 3 speaking to all the clubs. And I said to them, just imagine in Region 3. Last year we rehabilitated about 66 grounds. This year we're going to spend, in that region alone, more than $400 million. And that is across all the regions of our country. By the end of this year, we'll have about how many grounds nationally with floodlights? Over 100 grounds will be able to host night facilities and night training across the country. And this is outside of the international stadiums that we're building. We are also launching a program, started last year, where in every school, there must be a multi-purpose sports tarmac, similarly to what they have at Saints. A multi-purpose sports tarmac. Every single school. And that is part of the ecosystem that we're developing. Infrastructure, athlete, and administration. All of this is to position us. To position us and to give us that opportunity to integrate sports and culture with its correlated sectors, which include international hosting, tourism, as I said. Now let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. We are speaking with some major international tourism, large-scale tourism operators and brands to come to Guyana. You'll be shocked to know that a high percentage of the tourism that goes to Barbados goes because of the Gulf Coast, not only the sun, sand, and sea. So this niche, when you look at Europe, let me tell you about this. Europe dominates the sports tourism market right now. 40% of the global market share is Europe. So we might be targeting the wrong market all our lives. We have direct flights now from UK to Guyana. How is it we're going to reach out to those squash clubs? To the elite in squash in Europe? And introduce Guyana as a destination, because Europe, by the way, is also one of the largest consumers of ecotourism products. So we have an integrator right there. How is it we bring together this? Go to the non-traditional areas, like the UAE. Find the squash association there. They have resources. And invite them for a tournament in Guyana. Let them come for squash and stay for the national natural beauty. These are the things that excite me. Not only the commissioning of the facility, but the potential that it opens up for us. And this country is in such a position now that we have a chance to lead by 2030. And with all the facilities that we're building from the private and public sector, we better be able to bring 3 million people passing through this economy by 2030 and beyond. And we have to do it. There is no second guessing these ambitious targets. We have to do it. And we have to utilize all our assets. And sports and culture are key assets. I promised myself that I would not speak for too long this morning. I have a feeling I'm abusing your ear at the moment. Let me also say that the development of this sports economy must bring with it, and I want Charles in the national strategy to ensure that in every aspect of the investments we are making, we develop with the association a business plan, a business ecosystem that backs the investment. Listen, sports is about the athletes and medals and national pride, but sports is also big business. Make no mistake. Sports is big, big business. It is highly integrated in the economy. And we cannot build a future strategy for any sport, including squash, without understanding the business behind squash and developing that business strategy behind squash. Sports economy allows us to network across countries, across regions, build that national pride that we cannot put a value to. It creates ownership. As I said, it's definitely a significant component of the One Guyana strategy. The investment in sports is part of our comprehensive national infrastructure plan and is part of our socio-economic transformation. Importantly, and in closing, sports is essential for healthy living. But we cannot have facilities that does not support certain important components. These facilities must be safe spaces. Our athletes and family must come here and feel safe and be safe. Our public facilities and parks must be safe spaces. It must be family and community oriented. So we must have facilities that support community and family. On Sundays, families can come and play whilst parents and family friends can sit in comfortable areas and buy some bumpty barbecue chicken. David, you gotta produce more chicken, boy. And eat some sweet potato, roasted sweet potato. Don't tell them marshmallow. Roasted sweet potato and cassava, and get some nice wiruri pepper from Annette, from the women in Region 1. These are important. We must have a sports store, a duty-free store at the airport, where we can have squash branded items that people can buy with national pride. All the overseas Guyanese coming through here may have children who are playing squash. They can pass through the duty-free and pick up a racket with the Guyana flag on it, with our national athlete signatures. These are part of what I'm talking about, developing that ecosystem, that holistic ecosystem that brings the national pride. If you go to sports stores, I'll tell you, one time I was in Spain and I went to see the Madrid Stadium. First of all, I had to line up for 3 hours because that was the number of course just for a tour of the stadium. And you had to pay what they call a VIP package to tour the locker rooms. I want to tell you that we are committed to supporting you bringing the best here, to bring the best eyes and angles on our country. But we also have to be bold, and we have to be forward thinking, and we have to be strategic in all of what we want to achieve. In this healthy living, the sports support, we have to reorganize the way we consume things. We have to have more public education, using sports as a value creator. We have to get back sports and culture as fundamental teaching tools in every single school in this country. We have to get back and get to that position where we start managing the screen time and opening up more outdoor time, more open air time for children. These are things that sound as soft issues, but these are core issues in the future we are confronting. These are core issues in the type of children and society we are molding for the future. I want to come here on Sundays and see athletes playing on steel band on the side, children and families learning the steel band, listening to national songs. So the facilities must be much more than, yeah, we celebrate, we have this grand international facility. But how would it transform national life? The other thing that we have to work on, there must be a sports development system that supports the athletes. If we are spotting athletes at an early age, we have to then manage those athletes so they can continue to have an education, they can continue to earn, not at the sacrifice of giving up their training time or their development time. That is key. That is the system we have to build. Whether it's cricket, football, squash, badminton, we have to pick these athletes. We have to spot these athletes early. And then we have to develop a national investment strategy in these athletes and their potential. And it has to be a national strategy. We have to get the association to do a squash clinic in Region 9 and then have coach going out there for 3 weeks and then doing a tournament in Region 9 so we can spot what talent may exist there and bring them forward. These are the things that excite me about the future. So I know I've already consumed much of your time, but I'm very pleased today that we can celebrate this accomplishment. And I hope that we will continue to build on this and that there's greater understanding of where we're positioning Guyana and the build out of the sports economy that will be an important part of our economic transformation and our wealth creation strategy. I thank you and God bless you.
Excellency, allow me to thank you for the insightful comments. I think the national federations should pick up the baton, and we understand fully that sports is a business. I would now just like to invite His Excellency, the Honorable Minister, and members of the head table, along with P.S. Tucker and members of the National Sports Commission, to the unveiling of the plaque. And we also invite everyone else to join that unveiling too. Thank you very much.
moving the wall.
They're moving the wall.
Who are you looking for? Who are you looking for? Brother.
Watch out there. I just told you that.
DJ, where you mic? And the court just saw when we were speaking, the president offers that the air condition is entire facility.
Just kind of doing nothing. Oh my god. Amanda's what? Playing game? Playing game?
Yeah.
Double facility with an exhibition match of mixed doubles between teams Nick Berwin and Ash Nickelville versus Jason Nickelville and Kirsten Woods. Best of 3 games to 11. Ash Nickelville for serving for the first team. Good luck, another. Sure. Turns over for the left. Voice from Ash over for the right. Handout 24, first server, vote. Handout 5-3. Handout 2-5. Handout 6-4, third serve. Handout 5-6. Select. From the left, Jason to serve. Six all. Eight seven, on the right. Number 8 out. Nine. About 9 out. Set 9, game off. Ashley, license.